From a spontaneously combustible studio in Cleveland, Ohio, presented by Permanently Geek, this is Uncovered, the show where we compare an original version of a song and a cover version of a song, and we try to decide which of the two is better. So this is the final episode of Season 1.
This is the season finale.
Yes, 30 episodes so far.
Wow.
I know. I'm actually, like, when I look back at the amount of time that we've been willing to spend in a room together, I'm pretty impressed by it. So,
yeah, right?
You know, it's been a pleasure, sir.
It has been.
So, while we usually only compare 2 songs, an original and 1 cover version, we decided to do something a little bit special for this season finale. So, we took what has been the most requested song for Uncovered. So this one has come up over and over and over, and so we decided it was finally time to do it. Usually we don't know what is under that piece of cloth. This time we do.
3, 2, 1, psych.
Oh. Can you imagine putting up with this guy for 30 episodes?
I know, right? And reveal.
So, the song is Hallelujah, originally by Leonard Cohen, covered by Jeff Buckley, Rufus Wainwright, and Kate Voegele.
And probably some more that we're missing.
We are going to listen to all 4 of these in their entirety. You're just going to hear short clips, and we will be right back.
We'll see you in about 20 minutes.
Composing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Composing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Composing hallelujah. 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 King composing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Final answer of the final episode.
Final answer of the final episode.
All right. We are back. So, a lot of ground to cover here.
Yes.
Whole lot of ground to cover here.
This episode is going to be a half hour long.
So, we learned some things in the process of listening to these songs. So, there was a marked difference between the original Leonard Cohen version and every one of the other versions.
Absolutely.
Stylistically and lyrically. And apparently the reason for that is there's this dude named John Cale that did a cover of Hallelujah. It was a piano cover with, simple arpeggiating piano melodies that you have similar things in all of the other ones.
Baffled king composing hallelujah. Hallelujah.
His version used lyrics that were written by Leonard Cohen but were not in any of Leonard Cohen's originally recorded versions. He actually, I've read that he asked Leonard Cohen, like, hey, I heard some lyrics that you use in your song Hallelujah live that aren't on the aren't on the recording. Could I get those? Leonard Cohen sent him like 25 pages of lyrics with like verse after verse after verse after verse after verse. And John Cale just selected his what he described as being the cheekiest. Those verses were then covered by Jeff Buckley. And after Jeff Buckley's death, Rufus Wainwright, for a tribute album, covered Jeff Buckley's version, sort of, but it was more like John Cale's version than Jeff Buckley's version. And Stylistically, yeah, and they were all using the same lyrics as the John Cale version. And then Kate Voegele's version was, again, more in line with the Rufus Wainwright or with the John Cale version, stylistically, melodically, lyrically.
Except on a guitar rather than piano.
Right.
That was the other interesting thing that I noticed about this, is we listened to 5 versions?
5 versions, yes.
5 versions
yes.
just now. And all of, you heard basically like 3 different main instruments, 3 different styles, like within those 5 versions.
Yep.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and I will say this: I actually think that all of the versions worked. Like every one of the versions,
absolutely,
could stand alone as its own song, and if you didn't know that it was a cover, you would probably listen to it and be like, that's one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. Like, I truly believe that Hallelujah is one of the best songs of the modern era, if you will.
There's a reason why every guitar player covers it. Yeah.
Everyone in the world, including myself, has covered this song at some point. Yeah, it's just an amazing song.
Yeah.
So that said, for me, there were two standout versions. There was the
Bon Jovi.
Yeah, Bon Jovi even covered this. We discovered when we were doing research and like trying to put together the timeline of who covered what. Bon Jovi even covered this song. We didn't listen to that one, but that cover exists somewhere. It charted.
It's very possible that one might be the best. We didn't listen to it, so we won't know.
But it did not make my top two. So my top two, and this was that's very fair.
Logic holds up.
My top two, without question, for me were the original one and the Jeff Buckley version. Those were the two that stood out for me as being really unique and moving pieces of music in very, very different ways. The Leonard Cohen version has a very dark feeling and was actually used to great effect in the soundtrack of The Watchmen. I will warn you, if you watch the film, there's a whole lot of glowing blue dong in it. It's got everything I like. It's got Leonard Cohen in giant glowing blue dong. What else could a guy ask for? So yeah, those were the two standout versions for me. The Rufus Wainwright version bothered me because the whole like the format was finding things that rhyme with hallelujah. And the problem was that over and over Rufus Wainwright pronounced the word you like you. No, he pronounced it as you. He sang a very clear ooh note with some lovely vibrato on it. And that stood out to me because it breaks the rhyme scheme of the song, and it makes you notice that the whole technique is like, let's find things that rhyme with hallelujah. So yeah, what were your thoughts on all of the different versions?
I will echo your thought in that all of them were good, and this is just a very good song.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why so many people cover it.
Yep.
I'll agree that I'm gonna say probably the Rufus Wainwright was
Mm-hmm.
probably my least favorite out of the ones that we listened to, because I felt like the rhyming scheme didn't bother me, but I felt like he didn't necessarily add anything to the song.
I'll completely agree with that. Yeah,
it still sounded good. It was a very good song. If I didn't know it was a cover, I would think it was a good Rufus Wainwright song.
Yep.
But in hearing the versions of the song that came before his, I don't know if he really put his own spin on it, or
I agree
not
with
that
you.
anybody really did put much of like their own thing, but at least like they added a little to it.
Well, I thought that Jeff Buckley added a lot of his own thing to it. He's the one that really put the John Cale version, which isn't one of the official ones we're considering. He actually stripped it back immensely, and then
so
used different
he was
lyrics,
the first one to strip it back, and then everyone else kind of covered that version of the song going forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you're right. Jeff Buckley kind of like made it his own more than anyone else did.
Agreed.
So I liked his version a lot. The Kate Voegele version, I'm going to say that was probably the next least favorite.
I would agree with you. I would completely concur.
I liked her version a lot, but kind of the same thing that I'll say about the Rufus Wainwright version, is I felt like it was more or less just sort of like a standard cover.
Yeah, it was it was sort of a by the book,
Yeah.
workman-like cover that was, again, perfectly good, enjoyable.
Yeah.
If you hadn't known it was a cover, you'd say this is a great song.
Yeah. That said, I thought her voice sounded really good on it, though, too.
Absolutely,
yeah. And yeah, it's nice to give a little shout out to a Cleveland girl, too.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, shall we reveal what the penultimate reveal of the ultimate episode of the season? All right, let's do this. Yeah. Hey now. That's fighting dirty.
What?
That is fighting dirty, sir.
What? It's not my fault you didn't include it.
So Kevin is doing what's called the prevent defense here because we've been keeping score this whole time, and the current score I believe is 20-14. I think is where we ended up,
something like that.
And so I'm leading significantly, and these down here are our guesses as to what the other person will pick. So
That's how we get the points.
So he is effectively denying me a point on.
For all I know, you could have written John Cale in there.
Hey,
who was stopping you?
my conscience.
Your conscience was wrong.
Some of us, sir, have morals and standards.
Get out of here with your morals and your standards.
Well, all right. So why John Cale? Actually, I'm interested to.
So his was the first one that started the trend of the really stripped down version.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that when I listened to his version, just the dynamic of just all the reverb on the voice and whatever he was playing on the piano sounded really good. I think his vocal delivery, delivered a little bit more emotion than I heard in several of the other versions as well. It's not a huge difference between all the other, out of the 5 that we listened to, this one isn't necessarily way up here and the rest are down here. They're all right around the same level. So it's not like this one is a runaway with the wind for me. But when we listened to all of them and listened to this was the one that just sort of struck me as, I think I like this one the best. Yeah. Actually, I kind of think we should have included it.
Fair enough. And the the ones that we picked were the ones that had been requested in the comments, and I feel like the John Cale one sort of gets missed in the mix. Since we know I'm not going to get a point this episode.
I don't know that. You could have written it down.
Let's still take a look and see so we can find out what the final score for this season's going to be.
All right,
here we go.
All right.
Okay.
So Michael incorrectly picked Leonard Cohen because of the Berlin bass, which I pointed out when we were listening to that
That's
song.
true.
It had the boom.
Like in, Take My Breath Away, the boom, 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 boom. The bass is very similar to that.
Yeah.
And I have to say, since I wasn't including John Cale as one of the options, I figured of 4 versions of a song, the one released in the 80s was the one that you'd pick.
And by a Canadian.
Exactly. Everything just going out the window.
Kevin loves the 80s. Kevin loves Canada.
Exactly.
Until I decided on John Cale to cheat, I was kind of leaning towards
all right,
this one.
All right.
So.
That's good to know that if you'd played by the rules.
What rules? I never saw any official rules written anywhere.
I have a proclamation here. And Kevin correctly picked Jeff Buckley because reasons. So it was a pleasure, sir. I look forward to competing again next season, and I think there might have to be a little bit of a trophy presentation ceremony that happens.
I don't know if we necessarily need that.
What if it were a belt? What if there were a belt that you could potentially win next season?
Oh.
Would that sway you?
That might sway me.
All right.
Let's hope they renew us for another season.
let's hope there was enough sex and violence that they'll renew us for another season. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for joining us for this entire season of Uncovered. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you have only recently been watching, please go back and watch from the beginning. It was a lot of fun for us. We hope it was as much fun for you, and we will see you next season.
Good night.
What were their names again? Jeff Wainwright.
Rufus Cohen.
Kate Voegele.